Welcome to Insights in Sound, where we talk to the people behind the scenes, behind the technology, and behind the music. People you may not know, but you should. And please check out getitinwriting.net/shows for a full list of our podcast YouTube series.
Exciting.
Are we ready?
Hello. Ooh.
Are we ready?
Talk in low, sultry tones. Smile, everybody. That's good.
All right, excellent. I love it. Are we all ready to go? Do I have a? Oh, the countdown has started.
Oh, it has. Okay. Oh.
Yeah, when it ends, we all blow up. So
What
I
fun.
have my notes on the panel here and everything, so I can really sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah,
So
that's cheat sheet.
welcome to you all. This panel, for lack of a better name this year, is called Capturing Lightning. It's not about what gear was used. It never is. It's about working with the artist. It's about getting inside the artist's head and getting those great performances. My panelists, the immortal, the illustrious Mr. Matt Wallace.
Hooray, Matt. Yay, Matt.
The equally, well, no, wait. I should do
illustrious.
this right. I should do this right. Matt's credits include Faith No More, John Hyatt, Replacements,
Maroon 5,
Maroon 5,
Andy Grammer,
and many
other
more.
stuff. But nothing as cool as
Yes,
we're talking about over here.
Sylvia Massy. Sylvia's credits include Red Hot Chili Peppers, Faith, not Faith No More. That was him. Tool, of course, System of a Down, Prince, many more. Queen. And the equally illustrious and oh so elegant Mr. Ed Stasium. Ed's credits include the Ramones, Talking Heads, Smithereens, Living Color, and many more. God, you guys don't have your lines down at all. All right, so now I have my prepared spiel.
Daniel.
My name is
Introduce
Daniel
yourself.
Liston Keller. I am the CEO of Get It in Writing and the host of Insights in Sound, as well as 30-Second Chances. And I am humble in the presence of these wonderful people. So here's my prepared sort of synopsis of this. The role of the producer is an art form in itself, encompassing not just musical collaboration, but all aspects of the creative process, with critical decisions ranging from artistic and technical to political and psychological. Every production is different, and a good producer learns to navigate with a chameleon-esque sense of give and take, all the while staying true to their own personal ethos. So we're going to talk about some of the challenges in working with the artist, and I'm sure that these people can give us some insight into what worked for them, what interesting situations may have arisen in the studios. It happens once in a while. So let's kick it off with just, I want to know from each of you, aside from the necessity of being a fan, what do you look for when you're looking for an artist to produce? When an artist comes to you, which is more likely the case these days for all of you, an artist comes to you, what do you look for in terms of, can I work with this person? Is this person a psycho? What are the red flags? You know, well, of course they're a psycho, otherwise they wouldn't be doing this. But give me a little bit of what kind of things you're looking at creatively.
What are you going to say to me? Okay, listen, obviously being a fan is really important. And the one thing that I've learned doing this is that the most important thing is really if you connect with the music. And to be honest, the money part of it is actually quite a bit down the list. If there's something that you're passionate about, you'll just do it because you really love it. And so that to me is the first thing. Whether or not the artist or band is more of a psycho than the producer is going to be debatable. But I think we're just trying to have people who have something to say. To me, it's always someone who's really got something that's burning in them that they really have to get it out. That's really, really essential. And on the stage here, we have people who've worked with people who are singular artists, like that almost define the genre. And those are things that are really, really important, because you can always do bands that sound like other people, but find the ones that really kind of come to the forefront, that maybe are on the vanguard or the cutting edge of music. That's really, really exciting. It's not always it's not the smartest decision to make financially, because it's easier to kind of go with what's kind of already popular, but to go off the beaten path and find something that you think is a kind of a gem in the rough, that's really, to me, is what's really exciting, to help discover artists. And both of you have done this really, really well. So.
Well, I'd like to say that when I'm introduced to an artist, I want to assess, do they need me? You know, what do they need? So I want to hear some of the material, whether it's rough mixes or finished mixes. If I'm doing a mix, a rough mix is really helpful. Sometimes the rough mix that is sent initially is so good and so finished that I'm wondering, what is it that they want? Because they, you know,
it's already there.
How can I make that better?
What can you bring to the process?
What can I bring? And sometimes they just want your name, you know, and just, you know, leave the mix exactly the same, just put your name on it. I'd rather be creative and be original. But yeah, it's important to assess that when you first meet the person. Like, what do they need? Do they need me?
Yeah, and I think to Matt's point, if they're really that unique and if they're really that cutting edge, you're helping to shape something. You're helping to shape something new, as you say, genre defining to a certain extent. Yeah. Don't you want to have that part of the creative process?
Yeah, it did.
Your audio is gone.
Are you there?
Your battery's out.
Broke.
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Good.
I must be
Whack,
too
give it a good
flexible.
whack.
Yeah, just
We all do that in the studio, right?
the old technical creed. If it doesn't work, get a bigger hammer. Yes.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I always get songs first, or I see a performer in residency or at a club, and the song to me is important. Then meeting with the person and seeing if we really get on. Getting on with the person is very important. It's always different for every artist, I find. There's always something that's going to be a little quirky. I find a lot of times artists will come to me because I started off as an engineer, and I really love doing that. I had an assistant for a while, but I'm hands-on all the time. You know, I'm dropping in, I'm punching in, I'm working with arrangements with the songs. But the personal connection for me is just what's really important. Because you end up, as these guys know, being part of the family for the short time or a long time. You know, it used to be a long time making records. Remember those days?
Yeah.
We used to spend 3 months on a record. That doesn't happen anymore. But you become part of the family, and it's a little bit of a heartbreaker once the project is finished. It's always like, well, am I going to see these people again? We're going to see you again. But you know, getting along with the artist, being a friend with them, being able to converse, being able to swap ideas. I'm always yakking about stuff. Try this, try that, and then they'll say yes or that sucks, you know. But it's good to have that kind of relationship.
Well, that segues nice into the next question, which is just talking about how do you go about, and for I know it's different for each of you and in each situation, but let's talk about how you go about establishing that rapport, because it's not just being a good hang, it's really gaining trust, it's becoming more than just a fan, it's becoming part of the whole creative process.
I could say something about that. When you're working with an artist, you need them to trust you. And when they ask you a question, what I have found has helped work to gain that trust is every time a question is asked, I have an answer. Even if it's really like I'm just grabbing it out of air. You know, it's like, well, what do we do now? Well, I think you need to take that guitar and go outside and
burn it
and blow over there, and then I'm going to, and I'll have this most, I can make shit up like on the spot like that. I think that actually does help.
I need to interrupt because Sylvia has done the craziest things whilst recording.
Yes.
And, I mean, she blows.
Sometimes it works.
She shoots pianos with shotguns. She records chickens. She records guitar amplifiers through pickles.
Yes.
Why not?
I mean, she's so ingenious.
a great way to squash the sound.
Sylvia, as well as being a fantastic engineer-producer, is also a fantastic artist, a great painter.
Yes.
Fantastic stuff, amazing stuff. Her book, is that microphone
Studio
book coming out
Stories.
soon?
Yeah, both
Yeah.
of these guys are
yeah.
in the book. And,
Yeah.
and thank you, because it's your contributions to that book that make it special.
Recording Unhinged is an amazing book. If you don't have it,
Because these guys have got stories that in every engineer who's been in the studio for decades has stories to tell, and so that's a book that's full of those kind of stories.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Ed.
well, you're
It's very kind.
the tri-queen.
You worked with Talking Heads and the Ramones.
And the
So,
Ramones.
Well, I was lucky.
That's-
I was in the right place at the right time.
Talking Heads.
Yeah.
Well, and that's part of it for all of us, isn't it? Being in the right place at the right time.
Absolutely, for me,
how do you know when that artist is going to come along?
You don't.
You never do.
It's-
You know, and that weird artist that's out there somewhere, you know, they're waiting for the right person to be the other piece
Well, you know,
of their dysfunctionality, whatever you want to call it, you know, because truly, all artists, we're all dysfunctional in some way or another.
yeah.
And we're just trying to get that out there. It's our own therapy. And so if we're able to be that missing link, that missing piece that helps to get that vision from somewhere up here where it's stuck out to in a palatable fashion, isn't that an art form too?
I consider myself an artist, and I'm sure that these two do.
Absolutely.
But Matt is, well, yes, you are. So, Matt started, basically in a garage. And you basically discovered Faith No More, recorded them in your garage.
Yeah,
didn't
my
you?
parents, I borrowed our family's suburban garage for 2 years, and I built an 8-track studio ostensibly to make my own record. This is back in '82. And for better or for worse, I never did make my own record, but I did find a band called Sharp Young Men that became this band called Faith No More, and recorded them in my parents' garage. So, yeah, I mean.
Why did they change the name? That was such a great name.
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah. But back to being at the right place at the right time, I think we're kind of underselling ourselves a bit, because being at the right place at the right time is first a lot of experience of doing like the wrong things for a long time until you finally get till you finally get an idea of how to make records, and then bands and artists hear about our previous work, and they sometimes seek us out. You didn't just get the Talking Heads or Ramones because you looked handsome. It's because they've heard your earlier work. And same thing with you, Sylvia. Tool knew about you. People knew about you, and that's why they seek you out, because they feel you're a kindred spirit because of the type of music you did. Like, they didn't go look for someone who produced super duper pop stuff. They were looking for someone who's on that edge of trying to do something that's more unique and challenging.
Yeah.
Now, Sylvia, you touched on something a minute ago that is a really important part of this for me, which is we're coming into this as, once we've agreed to be part of this creative process, we're coming into this as really a part of the creation. And to do that, we have to really become like a fifth Beatle. We have to be that close to the artists, and not just creatively, but in every sense. We're living with them, whether it's for a few days or a few months or whatever. We're getting in with them, and we're becoming a member of the band. At the same time, we also have to have this, as you say, authority. What do I do now? Yeah, well, you do this, And so there's this real balance, and I'd like you all to talk about it, especially with the personality types that each of you has worked with. Has there been an interesting situation where you found yourself sort of teetering on the brink between I'm the boss and I'm a peer, I'm the producer, I'm running the thing, they want me to do this and that, versus I got to be one of you, and striking that balance, so to speak.
How did you do that with Prince?
Yeah, now there's a good one. There's a good one. Exactly.
But I mean, here's an icon, and you're.
Well, not just an icon, but that's the part of it that I think is really important. Is when you talk about these new and upcoming bands, in a way they're more malleable. You get these established, or in your case, somebody like David Byrne. There's no changing that. He came out fully formed.
And that's
same way Prince did.
A very important point, because one of my the most important thing to me is to have the artists be themselves. Don't lay anything on them. You have to guide. If there's guidance, you help them. But put up the microphone and go. You know, let the artists be themselves. You can't force an artist to do anything. And when you see artistry, it's let them go. It's magical, and it just happens. You know, doing vocals these days, and you know, I used to do this back on tape, but you know, it's great with doing vocal comps because I hate giving you know, well, you're sharp there, you're flat there, the phrasing is a little off. You know, just go fucking sing. Go sing, get it done, put it on, do 5, do 10 tracks, and then comp it up.
And sometimes those mistakes are the best part.
Absolutely. You know, when you're punching in a line at a time, which happened a lot in the past, I definitely don't do that anymore. On occasion, when the artist says, I didn't quite like that phrase, that line, we'll go back and work on it. But getting the artist to just be themselves, for me, is the most important thing in making a record.
Yeah, there was actually, I think just recently, there was a video that was going around talking about how Billie Eilish and Phineas had comped this particular vocal out of like 40 or 50 different vocal tracks.
That's a lot.
And, you know, I mean, I get it, and I get that we want to have as close to, you know, what we wanted in a take, but I think there's a magic of just do a whole take. Do another whole take. Maybe there's a line in here or a line in there, but man, there's a continuity there that you're just not going to get if you're slicing and dicing
Absolutely.
like that.
And this comes up a lot, I must say, going way back into my past, almost 50 years ago, when I recorded the vocals for Midnight Train to Georgia. That's a one-take vocal. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was a kid. I was living in New Jersey. I was working with this guy, Tony Camello. He said, come on, Eddie, we're going to fly out to Detroit. We're going to record Gladys. And
You did that well.
thank you. And we did the tracks in Jersey. It was 16 track, by the way. Brought it out to a Artie Field studio in Detroit, and had it set up. And Gladys always was biting her lemon. She always had lemon in hot water. That was her warm up. Is that crazy? And she says, "Okay, I'm ready to do my vocal now." And I had no idea what I was doing. It was a console I had never seen.
It's the red button.
You know, it was a U87 microphone. But it was a console I didn't know. I just guessed at the attenuation, and there was an LA2 there, and I just patched into the LA2, and she sang.
What else you need?
And she did the whole dang thing. It was one take vocal. Wow. So that goes to show you where artistry is.
I think part of it, sorry to interrupt you, but I think here's one of my frustrations being like an old guy who started in analog doing 8-track and 16 and 24-track. I think that part of the problem I have with technology is that the more technology has improved, such as Pro Tools, and the fact that you can, in fact, correct rhythm and you can correct pitch, I think for me has taken away something that's really essential about music. And back in the analog days, you had to be so good that when you stood up to the microphone, you couldn't do 30 or 40 takes in comp it. You could maybe do 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's all the tracks you had.
And the old days, like if you had 24 tracks and everything was filled up and the singer's like, I can sing it better. You're like, well, there's no tracks. I can do it better. And you have these moments where you go into record, and this has happened to me, where you had a great vocal performance, but the singer said they could do better. And the moment you go into record, you're like, oh, we just lost what we had.
Abject terror.
So I think the technology, unfortunately, like with Phineas, you know, it just like it can give you such a big safety net that it doesn't really allow you to get out there and just push and just do your best work and just kind of live and die by it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's true, and I use Pro Tools as a tape machine. I really do. I think we all do, really. You know, I use click tracks occasionally. You know, we all do. But I pretty much don't use a shit ton of tracks when recording. Just keep it as we learned. You know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for just not pursuing perfection, but pursuing the moment, the performance,
the feel,
the performance, isn't there?
Artistry.
I see all three of us up here, and I realize we all came from an engineering background.
Yes.
So, and I think we have an advantage in knowing how to use the gear, in that as we work with a new artist, we can take whatever role they need us to take. Like Prince, he didn't need a producer.
Right.
Absolutely not. So, but there are other artists that would need everything. So I was just an engineer on the Prince sessions.
Now, may I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
When you were engineering that stuff, didn't he like kick you out of the control room when he did vocals?
Yeah. He would do his own vocals,
This is
but
a
for the
great
guitar
story.
and the bass,
Yeah.
But he probably asked your opinion, though. Even though you're an engineer, I'm sure would say, hey.
He would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that is kind of gentle production in a
I guess.
Well, it's sounding board,
He wanted
okay?
a
It's
sounding board.
something,
He wanted a
yeah.
sounding
Yeah.
board,
Yeah.
It
so-
did. He would ask, opinions, but he was tough, and he had a very direct. The music was in his head, and I had no idea what these songs were about until I would come back in after his vocals and hear the finished production with
Amazing.
all the backing vocals and all the everything that he would record on his own and layer and comp. Amazing. So that kind of gig. Well, I'm an engineer and I can fill that role. Fantastic. But some people really need help. Songwriting, vocals. Let's write backing vocal parts.
Phrasing.
As far
yeah.
as you'll let me go, I'll finish out your track. You want strings? Forget the children's choir, no children's choir. But strings, horn sections, let's go. It's up to the artist how much rope they want to give me.
Well, now that brings up another question. And this is something that, again, I know it's different for each situation and each artist and each song and each production, but we're putting a stamp on there. And to a certain extent, we have to be, you were talking earlier about do no harm, how much of yourself do you put in? How much is being too much? There are certain producers who are fantastic, wonderful producers, but everything they produce, it's them. Versus, other producers who you look at them and you say, wow, did you really do both of those things? Because they're so different from each other. How much of a hands-on approach is right?
Well, for me, it's all about just getting greatness at it. I want zero stamp. I don't want anyone ever to be like a Matt Wallace production. I hate that concept because it's not my record. If it were my record, I'd put my name on the front of it and I'd do my own damn music.
Yeah.
But
Then
when I'm
you need
working
a
with an
producer.
artist and when I'm working with a band, I really want to bring out their very, very, very best that they can offer, and that's really it. That's all I want to do. And the only stamp I have is to try to make it sound as human and genuine as possible, as authentic as possible. And by the way, great records are not perfect records. They're just great records.
Thank
Right.
you.
Right?
Absolutely. Bringing the artist's vision to fruition is one of my taglines.
Yeah.
It is like Matt said, and I've always said, and Sylvia will say the same, it's their record. It's not my record.
Yes.
I just want to get the best out of them, do the best out of them, get it on the hard drive, not on tape. And make it happen. And I'll repeat that, bring the artist's vision to fruition. Make it what they are.
And then the name of this topic is lightning in a bottle. Capturing the lightning in a bottle, how do you capture that because like you go to see let's say a rock band and you see them live and there's such energy on stage. How do you get that? Well, that's where I can help. I
Yes.
know I can help because I can set you up like you're on stage. I can give you all headphones, or let's just use wedges. Why don't we just record live? There's all kinds of ways to skin this cat. So, whatever works best for you, but we're going to capture that live feeling. And then even if we replace everything but the drums, the drums are still going to have that energy of a live performance, which you don't get if you're just playing to a click track.
Agreed, totally.
Yeah.
Bam.
Well, and that's why I would, it's interesting to me when you say, I'll give you as much as you want or as little as you want, because you really do have to be that flexible and that in the moment. It's like, you know what, this song needs more from me. No, this song needs me to be more of a shrink than anything else, I mean, one of the things that I always found was really effective is to, after I've heard the song a couple of times, I'll sit down with the person that wrote the song and just say, so what's the song about? How did this whole thing come about? Because once you get them talking about it, once you get them reflecting on what it was that inspired them to come up with this tune, they're going to give you a completely different performance than if they've been, because they've been singing this song probably, if they've been out gigging, they might have sung the song hundreds and thousands of times already. It's not going to have that same presence unless you kind of help them out a little bit, right?
Yeah. I mean, helping the artist it can be so rewarding. There's a story recently where I was helping. There's an instrumental composer named Amon Tobin, who's like an electronic composer, and he's been around for a while, since the 90s. He's really good. But he called me up one day and he says, look, I got this song. I'm singing it. I'm going to send you the demo. I really think it's a good song, and I want you to find a singer for it. And I listened to it, and I'm like, damn, his voice is good. You know, just layer it. So I said, listen, we're not going to get you a singer. Let's go into Capitol upstairs, and I'm going to do a vocal session with you. And I got an M49, and I set it up, and this is, I said, this is the compression that you use, and I set him in there. We did this one session. He went out the next week, bought an M49, set it up at his house, and he's doing all his own vocals now.
That's fantastic.
But the feeling that I get for helping him, who is an artist I absolutely admire, and helping him find his voice, wow.
Yeah, you instilled a certain confidence that he didn't even, as much of an artist as he is, he didn't have that confidence in his own voice,
well, sometimes you just can't do it on your own. You got to have some guidance. You know?
Yeah, and you've got to have somebody else giving you a completely different perspective, because we never know what we look like or sound like to the outside world. And having somebody help you bring that out, that's huge.
I thought you brought up a really great approach. I think that really, to me, you define what a producer does, and that is what the band or artist says isn't always what they really mean or intend. And the biggest thing as a producer, you have to have ears for the sonic quality, but to really listen and to take the temperature of the room and get to know them, because they're going to say things that maybe they can't really say exactly what they want, but you have to intuit things. And that's really the biggest, most important thing as being a producer. If once you do that, because what you did, that artist was asking for a singer. How intuitive that Sylvia said, well, you know, actually, you're the singer. To have that, but to have that kind of heart and ear and to listen into what was asked and say, by the way, here's what you do. That's very, very gutsy. That takes confidence, and that takes years of experience of working with artists and truly listening. And that's really something to do that. That's really something.
Thank you. But you also need to just take a chance that, and take the risk that you'll do all this and you will get no compensation for it, which is totally fine, because it comes later, right? The universe will come back.
Exactly.
So I'll try to help when I can.
Wow.
Well, and that, I think, that's it right there in a nutshell. That's golden. We're here to help the artist. We're here to serve the artist. And that is the greatest gift you can have. You know, if an artist comes back to you and says, oh man, you know, I still listen to that recording 10 years later, and this is one of the best pieces of work I've ever done. That's more gratifying than any gold disc on a wall. It really is, because that means that you've touched someone in a really deep place. That's why we're doing this, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Although the gold discs help fund it, so you can actually
Absolutely.
work with more artists.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah, we won't turn them down or anything. You know.
Right.
So the one other thing I want to get into a little bit before we open it up to questions and stuff, because I see the clock ticking away there, is we were talking about the whole idea of really listening and discovering who the artist is. A lot of that really has to do with not just seeing them live, but sitting down in the studio with them, listening to what it sounds like, as you say, go to a gig or set them up in the studio like they're playing a gig. But there's, you know, if you spend that time with them, that really invaluable pre-production time, not only are you getting a better idea of who they are and what they do, but that's going to also be part of building that trust, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. And this recent project I'm working on with this fellow, Paul West, we've been going back and forth. He lives in Hawaii. He's here now somewhere out there, I think. But we actually, he sent me the demos, and we were Zooming for days, going over the arrangements. And, you know, this should maybe try this, do that. And I'd bring up I put them all in Pro Tools and brought them up. And we used Zoom. And what's that streaming program that we're all using? I can't remember the name of it.
No. Sound movers.
Yeah, audio movers.
Audio movers, that's it, yeah.
Duh.
LimeWire.
Yeah, I put up all the stuff on
AOL.
on Audio Movers, and we went over the songs for several days, and went over the stuff, went over the lyrics, and did that. That was our pre-production. And then again, when he came to my place, we went over it again, and we got to know each other really well. And it was a very, I feel that I did some contribution, but I feel that he also brought his. It was bringing his vision to fruition, and he was seeing what was happening with making a record.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of stretching the artist's vision too, like sometimes I'll give an artist homework as pre-production. So I'll say, okay, you've sent me 8 songs. We're going to record 8 songs. So far, these are pretty good songs. I think you could do better. Write me 5 songs by this weekend. And you're just
No
like,
pressure.
Wow, go crazy.
Yeah.
And then I might ask them, okay, write all these songs, okay, but make sure one of them is a waltz, and make sure one of them is a reggae song, and make sure one of them, and then, oh my goodness.
Taskmaster.
And then they're like, well, okay, I'll show her. And then all of a sudden, they're writing completely outside of their normal avenues, and magic happens then.
Yeah,
So
challenging them.
Challenging
them, yeah. And that's a good point, because a lot of times you have to kind of break those creative jams a little bit, those creative log jams, because, an artist, like anybody else, they'll get into a habit, and your songs will start to sound the same, or even if the songs are different, the production of them, the arrangements of them might sound very, very similar, and you want to kind of get them out of that genre, because you don't want every song on the album to sound the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want diversity here. I want a record that we can both be proud of. Isn't that the goal?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
True.
Okay, well, we have 8 minutes and 50 seconds left, but who's counting? So do you want to open it up to some questions and answers and all of that? Matt, you look like you still have something to say.
I just want to say one thing we hadn't touched upon, and that is along with gaining the trust of the artist or the band you're working with, which is very, very important. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that sometimes as a producer, you're really stuck between 2 very difficult situations. One is you have an artist who really wants to express himself, and you're really trying to encourage that. But the other side of it is that sometimes you've got a record label who has some different ideas.
Oh, hell with
and
them.
you become this person who is at this point of friction. And to me, one of the most difficult parts of the job is juggling 2 very different entities who both kind of want different things. And you're going to take it all and wrap it up and put it into one thing that actually moves forward together. And that to me has always been kind of a bit of a challenge. I mean,
Definitely.
The commercial versus the artistic.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah.
The age-old struggle, right?
The A&R guy, coming in, and giving suggestions like, it needs a pulse.
Right, the one who you reach for a fader that's not really attached to anything, and you move it for them.
Pulse
Yeah.
knob. I had an A&R guy actually say that to me once. It's great.
Needs a pulse.
Needs a pulse.
Needs a pulse. Ooh, that's a good one.
Whatever that means.
But yeah, these days there's not many A&R for stuff.
Are there still A&R people?
There are, I'm sure,
Okay.
but it's all in the pub. I tend to stick with the rock stuff, honestly, and I'm not dealing with record companies anymore. There's a couple that I deal with, but very rarely. It's all independent artists now that I'm dealing with.
It's kind of easier.
It's
It
way
is,
easier.
yeah.
I love it,
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, it is easier because we don't have the label pushing in one direction. Now you're really dealing with something that's more singular, and you've got this artist or this band, and they're paying for it, and they want to go where they want to go.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's really easier, to be
Yeah.
honest.
It is,
There's not
definitely.
somebody sitting there and saying, I want it to sound like these other guys.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And
But everyone is still wanting to have a hit.
Well, of
oh yeah,
course.
still want to have a hit.
Even the bands, and you really want to hit, then you're not going to be doing your art. You may not be able to do your art if you want to hit. So
I do miss the camaraderie in the studios when, I'd be in one room.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Matt was in one room, I'm in another room. We're playing stuff on each other's records. It was a great time. I do miss the camaraderie. This is great to be here with these 2 geniuses.
yeah, the musical, the production, this whole industry is full of really great people, and it's a family, and it's like every year going to NAMM, it's a very special time to reconnect, and it's great that you're here, and I'm so happy that you came to see us talk today.
Very much. Yeah, thank you guys.
We're all so happy
Thank
to be
you.
back. Yeah. Nice. Well, do we want to open it up for a couple of questions? We have about 5 minutes, so I can't see anything. But,
Yeah.
yeah. All right,
Over here?
so
Got a gentleman over here.
all right.
There's a
Go for it.
microphone over there, no?
Yes.
I think there's a traveling microphone, but
I think it's
Oh,
one
you can
Oh,
set
it's
up
right in the middle
Right in the
there.
middle of the
Just
room.
yell it
there.
out.
it's in the middle of the room. Oh,
There it is.
you have to
Could be traveling.
commute.
Thank you so much for your time tonight. I wanted to acknowledge a comment that Sylvia made. Sometimes you go and you watch an opening act and you're just so blown away by how great a performance it is live. You run to the back, you buy the t-shirt, the CD, or last night watching Pickle Mafia, streaming it on the way back to your hotel room, and you're like, but that's not what I heard. It's not necessarily terrible, it's not what I heard. And going to something that Matt said, so if you feel that way about an artist and you feel like, oh, I'd love to crack the door open and help them to be what they were tonight live, how do you have that conversation when you feel so passionate after watching a performance like that and not feeling that the recording lived up?
Get in touch with the artist. I've done this several times within my career. Like an artist, you say, hey, that's great, let's do something. And you just bring them into the studio.
Walk on up.
And I'm still doing that. You know, I have people coming in, bands who do a couple songs, see if it works, just to make a great recording. Not even thinking of the commercial value of it, just because I think this band is good. Bring them on in. Come on, let's do it. Let's see what we can do.
And sometimes the chemistry won't work.
That's
Sometimes
right.
it's just, I'm not the right person for you or whatever. But
Yeah, kind of.
you just go up to them and say, hey, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that
Yeah.
we said
Yeah,
right at the beginning, that's
absolutely.
the first step. You got to be a fan, right?
Yeah.
Worried about undermining what has been done already?
No. Why would you?
No.
Yeah, I'm never worried about undermining what's been done before. I think you're trying to make the very best possible record that you can, and the person who's going to follow me is going to try to outdo what I did. And great, man. I hope each record gets better, and the artist or band is more and more successful. To me, that's the way it ideally would go. And
Again, we're
I like to
serving
just be
the
part of that.
artist.
What's that?
We're serving the artist.
That's
you
really
know?
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't it interesting how people's first albums seem to have a certain energy, and the music seems to be more. Well, it takes 10 years to write the first record, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a year to do the next
maybe
one if you're
one-
lucky. Yeah.
And there's just that energy, and I love working with new bands on their first records because of that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Always a lot of excitement during that process.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, my name is Avi. Thank you so much for dropping such amazing knowledge. My question to you guys is, I'm an artist and producer, and I find myself these days trying to work on harnessing creativity and kind of having it turn on whenever I want. The question for you guys is, have you had an experience where you're in the studio with the artist and they're just like, hey, it's just not happening. Today's not the day. I'm just not feeling it. XYZ, whatever it is, something's not working out. How did you change that vibe? How did you change that within the artist to completely turn it around? What's your trick?
Well,
Sylvia brings chickens in.
Yeah, she brings this is true. I end the session and say, let's come back tomorrow and work on it.
Yeah,
Think
tomorrow.
about it. Yeah, tomorrow.
Usually, I'll put it aside and say, look, we're
This
we're
is-
okay. We got editing to do tonight. You take a break.
Yeah.
We're human beings and we're not consistent.
Doesn't always happen. Just, it's not.
And sometimes even a short break is nice. Just go out and have some food, or
Yeah.
go outside and play basketball. Do anything to get your mind out of it. and
Food
then actually
is
come
so often the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing too, because so often you're working in the studio and you forget about time, and then people really do, blood sugar drops and the creativity drops. And a lot of times just saying, let's break for dinner, lunch, whatever, changes the whole thing.
Yeah, for me, I can't count the times where we've been at an impasse, things aren't working well at all, and you get really frustrated. You go do something else for an hour or so. It's really interesting. The moment you come back and start recording, I've gotten the most incredible performances. Everybody's relaxed. You don't have the pressure on yourself. It's really a thrill to be part of those kind of situations.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes just breaking it up a little bit, making
And
it
you
different.
just need to make a decision for the artist. The
Yeah.
artist
Yes.
won't
Yeah.
make that
Yeah.
decision.
Yes.
That's where, being a producer, you have to, make decisions.
Oh yeah, they'll keep trying until they get angry, and then they'll get frustrated, and then nothing will happen. So take a break, right? think we got time for one more.
Oh, good. Oh, the lots of pressure. Okay. Hi.
No pressure.
Pressure. Oh, I hope it's not a silly question, but hi, my name is Danielle, and I have a small. Thank you guys for being here, by the way. I have a small company that is voice and production, and I teach a lot of high schoolers, some older, dads and moms and stuff of that nature as well. And we're because we have the production side as well, I want all these kids to kind of get experience with, the recording studio, and just if that's an avenue they want to go on and whatnot. And I just didn't know, actually I want to hear your guys' words for encouraging kind of kids who don't know kind of what type of artist they're going to be. They have all these other concerns that they're also thinking about as well, as far as making them comfortable, one, in the studio, and recording maybe for the first time, and kind of figuring out their own voice. Like, we're doing a songwriting project this entire month, and just for fun, and then to run into the studio and start recording things. So I didn't know if you guys had any advice.
I mean, the only thing I would do is that you just tell the person who's singing, you go, hey, let's just do a run through. We'll just kind of practice. I'm going to get my levels. And try to do it without headphones, just in the room with the speaker and a handheld. And sometimes that's really the thing that unlocks it, where it doesn't become so precious, like you're making a recording. You're just like, just run it down. And you always record stuff like that. And then you do the real recordings, you come back to the original, it's like, oh my goodness, there's where the spirit is. I mean, that's, I don't know, what about you?
Great
What
point.
you're saying.
Great.
Yes.
I record everything, especially with Pro Tools. You have the playlists, drummers running it down, record it.
You're not limited to
the
tape
vocals.
anymore.
No,
Yeah.
so I record everything.
Oh, yeah. It's always
All
rolling.
the time.
Yeah.
Always record.
Yeah, for me, the
And
best.
I don't tell them.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
me, the
they're not-
best take is always the one before you go, hey, let's record it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have to say that you bringing in high schoolers into a studio and showing them how to use a mic,
I love that.
this will change their lives.
Yes.
Probably in ways you can't even imagine, and that is influencing them just to put them in front of that microphone. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you to my panel. Sorry we don't have more time. And thank you all for coming.
Yeah, wonderful audience. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Matt, Sylvia, love you guys. Daniel, love you. Thank
Thank
you.
you for the
Oh,
opportunity.
I just have to say, these guys, I love them so much.
Oh,
I just love them.
I love you more.
And thank you so much for letting us do
Yeah.
this.
Oh,
For the opportunity.
thank you.
Yes. Thank you guys. Woo.
Hey, I'm Daniel Keller. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join us each week for Insights in Sound.